Race fans, fasten your seatbelts and get set because it's time once again for your all-inclusive recap show from around the world of motorsports right here on Speed77 Radio, powered by Race Chaser Online. It's Motorsports Madness. Tonight, we'll take a look at Matt Kenseth's domination to open the chase with 2 straight wins and his breakthrough in Loudon, as well as Ryan Blaney scoring a breakthrough of his own out in the bluegrass state of Kentucky. We'll also promote and talk to USCS sprint car driver Morgan Turpin as she previews the United Sprint Car Series versus URC Carolina Thunder weekend coming up at Carolina Speedway and at Cherokee Speedway down in Gaffney, South Carolina this weekend. All that, plus Open Wheel Central with Joel Sebastianelli and more. Tonight on Motorsports Madness, get set to enjoy the ride. Hello everyone and welcome to Speed77 Radio, powered by Race Chaser Online. I'm Jacob Seelman, the voice of Speed77 Radio, and we're glad you're with us for an action-packed hour. Here tonight, it's Motorsports Madness on Speed77 Radio. I'm joined tonight by my colleague Tom Baker at the round table. DJ Everett off tonight. But Tom, of course, glad to have you back at the table, and we miss having DJ with us here when we do these Thursday night shows. But as we get started tonight, certainly, as always, a lot to talk about.
Yeah, that's a big ton for in that, good buddy. Definitely a lot of stuff going on, both short track wise and, of course, big track or big series wise. Major IndyCar announcement came out a little earlier this afternoon, and Joel Sebastianelli and I will have some conversation about that a little later on in the program. And lots of good stuff. NASCAR going through the chase here. Man, another big weekend this past weekend. And whatever else you want to talk about.
We've always got plenty to talk about here on Motorsports Madness, don't we? Let's get started with it tonight. Certainly the biggest story from around the world of motorsports has to be what happened in Loudon, New Hampshire last weekend, race 2 of the chase for the Sprint Cup, the Sylvania 300 at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. And boy, oh boy, if we expected anything different from the previous weekend in Chicago, well, we were sorely disappointed. Matt Kenseth, the championship leader who's already won 6 times this season and is self-proclaimed he does not do well at Loudon, well, he put the doubters and himself to rest on Sunday afternoon, taking the victory in the Sylvania 300 at Loudon, opening the chase with back-to-back wins, the first driver to do that since Tony Stewart in 2011. Greg Biffle also did it in 2008. But Matt Kenseth now, Tom, a win at Chicagoland, a win at Loudon. Is there anything left that Matt Kenseth has to worry about in this chase? Or if he keeps running the way he's running, is he the lock for the Sprint Cup Championship?
Well, I think it's a little early to be proclaiming him a lock. We're 2 races in, obviously he's off to a great start. I mean, you can't do any better than that, but he looks great, but it's only 2 races in, and we've seen guys fall apart in the chase before, but it seems like there's been a trend over the past 2-3 years that somebody just gets really, really hot and stays that way, and surely it looks like Matt Kenseth right now. Momentum is a very powerful thing, and when you've won the first 2 races, you kind of look at things a little differently. As you go through the rest of the chase, you start to not necessarily walk with a swagger, but you start to believe that maybe this is your time. And I think that just helps you to focus even a little bit more and push a little bit harder. Certainly Matt Kenseth looks like he's in pretty good shape right now, but we don't want to proclaim him a lock just yet.
That we don't, certainly. But Kenseth has looked awful strong. 7 wins, that's a career high for Kenseth as far as wins in a single season. He won last week, we do want to mention, in his 500th Sprint Cup start. He joins Richard Petty as the only other driver to win in his 500th Cup start. So certainly a great name to be associated there with the King, but Got to talk about his teammate as well, Kyle Busch, who finished second to Kenseth for the second week in a row. Joe Gibbs Racing has now been 1-2 in the first 2 races in the chase. They're 1-2 in the points. But I want to look at Kyle Busch. We've looked at Matt Kenseth. Now let's look at the curious case of Kyle Busch, because this is very unusual for Kyle Busch to start off a chase like he has. Usually this is about the time in the season where we've typically seen the wheels fall off the Kyle Busch train, but he has been very, very strong. Tom, 2 questions here. What's attributed to the success we've seen from Kyle Busch this year, and is he now a legitimate threat for the Cup Championship?
Well, I think that you can attribute the success to the maturity of Kyle Busch and to him handling things differently than he has in the past. I think he's handling adversity better. I think he's more relaxed. I think he's a little bit more focused in a non-intensity sort of way. I think it's more of just a mature, calm focus. And the team is maturing right along with him. They've quietly had a good season, and I'm not so sure you're going to see the wheels fall off this time. I think Kyle's in this to stay. There are some tracks coming up where he's particularly strong, and I really do think Kyle Busch has a chance. But of course, Matt Kenseth's up 2 wins on the field at this point, so Kyle's got to win some races. But surely I think he's got a shot at it, and I think it's just a different Kyle Busch right now. I think he really feels like he belongs more so than he has in the past, and he's just not pressing as much. He's kind of letting things come to him and taking things just a little bit more in stride. I don't want to overstate that, but just a little bit more mature, a little bit more in the way that he handles tough situations. I think that whole team is really kind of gelled a little bit this year. So, and you know what? They've had a lot of luck this year that they didn't have in years past. Not all of the problems have been really Kyle's fault or necessarily the team's fault. Just things break, things happen. They've had a lot of bad racing luck over the last 2-3 years of the chase or right around chase time. And so, I just think this year it looks like they're gonna be in it to win it, and he's gonna chase Matt all the way.
And now we go to the Monster Mile this weekend. Dover International Speedway. Arguably, if you call Talladega a wild card in the chase, this arguably has to be a close second, because we've seen Dover tear up a lot of equipment over the years. Miles the Monster certainly likes to take a bite out of drivers before the end of the day. You got to talk about Jimmie Johnson. I know he's sitting 3rd in points. I know he's 18 points back, but he had this race sewn up. If it weren't for the black flag on the late restart back in June, Jimmie Johnson, a 7-time winner, that's tied for the most all-time at Dover. Is this the race where the aspirations for the 6-pack come back alive? Who's your favorite for this weekend at Dover?
You hit the nail exactly on the head about Jimmie Johnson, Jacob. This is definitely the race where Jimmie Johnson has the best opportunity and the most past success to jumpstart his 2013 chase. I'm not convinced he's going to win the race, but surely you got to make him a heavy favorite. I think this is definitely the first race in this year's series where I would say, if you are going to win this race, you're going to have to go through Jimmie Johnson to do it. And so I think the 48's got an excellent chance to win it. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and say that he will. I think he's got to snap out of the slump he's been in. He's 3rd in points. He's certainly still in the chase very much if he gets hot. I'm not convinced, however, that even if he does win on Sunday, I am not convinced that that's going to just lead to a total domination the rest of the way. I just think Matt Kenseth's too good. Kyle Busch is too good. Not to say Jimmie won't end up winning the chase, just to say that you've got some teams. Casey Kane has been good, just hasn't had the results. Last week's a great example. but Jeff Gordon's coming around. You've got some teams here that are going to challenge every race for the win. And so I don't necessarily want to extend this success he may have this Sunday into, okay, here we go again. But I certainly predict him for Sunday.
All right, here before we send it to our first caution flag of the evening, another breakthrough of sorts occurred over the weekend too, and that was in the NASCAR Nationwide Series. The 22 car going to victory lane for the 10th time this season. That's not the breakthrough part. The breakthrough comes from the guy behind the wheel. 19-year-old Ryan Blaney took Roger Penske's discount tire number 22 machine to victory lane in the Bluegrass State, the Kentucky 300. Tom, we've talked about young talent for quite a while here on, not just on Motorsports Madness, but in general in NASCAR. Ryan Blaney put on a dominant performance in Kentucky Saturday night. He led the most laps. I say the fastest car did, in fact, go to victory lane, and he held off some great competition to do it. His teammate, Sam Hornish Jr., you've got guys like Regan Smith, Elliott Sadler, who admittedly had not the night he was hoping for, but you had Drew Herring up there in the 54 substituting for Kyle Busch. You had a stacked field, even though most of the Cup regulars were out in Loudon, but Ryan Blaney still, he schooled them all. It wasn't a Cup regular that the Nationwide boys had to worry about. It was a truck driver, and Ryan Blaney, just like in the Truck Series last year when he won at Iowa, breaks through again.
Yeah, he really, I mean, how cool is that? You know, Ryan is just such a, he's such a humble young man and such a talented young racer. I mean, this is a kid who has this year matured and grown so much in the Truck Series and also in the Nationwide Series right before our eyes. And, you know, that growth hit an apogee the other day when he picked up the victory. That was a sterling performance by Ryan Blaney, and I don't think it's going to be the last. I don't know if he's going to get another shot in that 22 car before the year's out or not, but if he does, I wouldn't be surprised to see him come back and win another one. Here again, momentum's a funny thing. Ryan's got some confidence now. I really believe that this is a kid who is going to be a big, big star in the Sprint Cup Series for a long time to come once he gets there. I don't think Roger Penske's going to rush him. I also don't think he's going to let him go. I know there's been talk about, you know, who's going to drive the Furniture Row car, for example, and Ryan's name gets mentioned. I don't see the captain letting Ryan Blaney get away because I think that he understands that this is part of the future of Penske Racing. He's just taking his time and letting him get quite a lot of seat time, and I think Ryan's going to be just a star of the future in that series.
So here's the next question. Now we've seen Roger Penske one-up Joe Gibbs once again. The 22 extends the owner's gap on the 54, but Ryan Blaney's performance in that car really even overshadows that. So here's the real question. Not just do we see Ryan Blaney in that car before the end of this year, helping Roger Penske maybe get the Owners' Championship for 2013, do we see Ryan Blaney in that car full-time in 2014?
I would certainly think that would be the plan. I don't have any insider information, although I do believe that there is some conversation anyways that involves Sam Hornish and potential other quote end quote other opportunities in the Sprint Cup Series. It would be sort of interesting to see Sam go over to the Furniture Row 78 team, which is a Chevrolet team that would distance him from Penske Racing and the Ford organization. But you know, I got to tell you, I think that I think Ryan would certainly be a good choice to be full-time in a car at Penske Racing in the Nationwide Series in 2014, whether it's the 22 car or the 12 car. I think that would be awfully hard to overlook as the thing to do. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Sam Hornish after the season. Sam may be a good choice for the 78. We'll have to see which way they go.
Oh, silly season just continues to get sillier, doesn't it? We're going to take a break here on Motorsports Madness on Speed77 Radio and Race Chaser Online. And when we come back, we're going to hit up Open Wheel Central. We sat down earlier today with Joel Sebastianelli, and that conversation with your Open Wheel news is up next on Motorsports Madness. You're listening to Speed77 Radio, powered by Race Chaser Online. We are your home for motorsports.
Maybe you know who we are.
But do you know who we really are?
We're ladies.
And not so gentlemen.
We're a mad scientist.
We're outlaws turned heroes.
We're part athlete.
Part astronaut.
And all show off. We're a flash mob. We're bigger than most towns. We're everything.
You never expect.
He slammed into the jet drop.
We're always testing the limits and each other.
We're the unknown coming at you at 200 miles per hour.
We're fire, we're smoke.
Nerves colliding with steel.
We're the loudest party on earth.
We live at the corner of mayhem and Maine.
Oh no! They crossed the line, and guess who wins the race?
Where anything can happen. It usually does.
Hi, this is Jamie McMurray here for RAD, the entertainment industry's voice for road safety. Want to make a difference? It's simple. Be responsible. Plan ahead. Designate before you celebrate. Friends don't let friends drive drunk.
Baby, you can drive my car. Yes, I'm gonna be a star.
A public service message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
You're listening to WSPD 77.1. This is Speed 77 Radio, your home for motorsports. Welcome back to Motorsports Madness here on Speed 77 Radio and Race Chaser Online. I'm Jacob Seelman alongside my colleague at the round table, Tom Baker. DJ Everett is off tonight, and we wish him all the best out there in Idaho and hope to have him back possibly for Tuesday night. A lot of stuff upcoming on Motorsports Madness that we'll get to before the end of the program, but right now we're going to take a visit over to Open Wheel Central. And Tom, I know you sat down with our Open Wheel IndyCar and F1 correspondent Joel Sebastianelli earlier this afternoon, and we've got Open Wheel Central here tonight on Motorsports Madness. Let's take a listen.
All right, Joel, so you're the resident wine and cheeser around here, and I know you're big on Indianapolis and the 500 and all that. Are you big on a road race at Indy? Because it's going to happen in 2014.
Well, I think that this new car that was introduced very recently, the DW12, it's a great car, and it is improved road racing anywhere, whether it's a street circuit or an actual permanent road course. It has improved it everywhere dramatically, and it's even improved it on the ovals, as we've seen at Indianapolis so far this year. I think at any track in the world that you put IndyCar on, they can put on an engaging race. Now, do I really like what they're doing? No, and most people don't. Holding a road race at Indianapolis in the first week of May takes away a little bit from what the month of May is supposed to be all about, which is the Indianapolis 500. It's not about a road race on what is, quite frankly, one of the most boring tracks I've ever seen open wheel cars on. I know that IndyCar says that they would like to reconfigure it this fall and make for new vantage points that are better for fans, but how are you really going to do that? You can't have elevation in the middle, because then it takes away your vantage point for the oval if you're a fan. So I'm just not a big fan of the idea at all. AJ Foyt is not a fan of the idea. Anybody who is an IndyCar purist isn't, but it is going to happen in 2014, and it is going to add a little something special to the month of May that is nothing except for rookie orientation until the second or third week.
It should be interesting. I don't know how I feel about it, honestly, but the purist in me says I think it's a bad idea, but it certainly does add something else to the month. And if they do manage to make the course somehow a course where you can actually pass, and it's even mildly entertaining as far as the course goes, then it's probably an improvement. So with that being said, more details expected October 1st. I guess there's going to be a presser at the Speedway, and they'll announce more details. So we got a little bit to wait for that, and we'll catch up on next week's show about that. Let's switch very quickly to Formula One, where several things that we want to cover. First of all, talk a little bit about Sebastian Vettel's dominant performance in Singapore.
Oh, Vettel was phenomenal. Pulled off another Grand Slam, fastest lap of the race, pole and leading every single lap en route to the top step on the podium once again. At this point, I just don't see any way that he can lose the title. In his entire career that I've seen, I believe that this was one of Vettel's finest moments. Singapore is a grueling track. It's a left-hand turn in that first corner, which after coming all the way down the straight actually takes a toll on your neck, because the majority of circuits in Formula One go clockwise, not counterclockwise like Singapore does. So there's an entirely different group of muscles that are being stressed when you go around that circuit. It's lawn, it's very, very hot, up in the 90s at race time very often, really humid. It's really, really grueling. So for him to perform the way he did, just on that first lap, he picked up 1.9 seconds over the second-place car of Nico Rosberg. That goes to show you not just how good Vettel is, but how good that car is. There's no way anybody else can even come close to challenging Vettel for the title at this point in the year.
Just an amazing run and total dominance. It's just it's unbelievable, really. But he's had a great year. And speaking of great years, but not anymore, where's Felipe Massa going to end up in 2014?
Well, it's tough to tell. Lotus said that they won't make a decision on who's going to replace Kimi Räikkönen until after the year is over and all financial backing has been secured. Romain Grosjean is likely going to stay in the second seat at Lotus. So whoever takes over the first seat, we'll find out soon. It's probably between Felipe Massa and Nico Hülkenberg. Now, the real question is, do they want to take a gamble on somebody like Hülkenberg and hope he pays off over the long run? Or do they want to take somebody like Felipe Massa, who's a veteran, get maybe some more consistent results and sit him in the seat for 1 year until big free agents hit the market next year? Perhaps people like Fernando Alonso or Jenson Button. That's going to be the real decision for Lotus, because there's definitely no longevity in Felipe Massa at this point in his career.
Would either Jensen or Button consider going there if they were available next year, do you think? Because I've got to believe that they've got to ask themselves that question as they try to figure out what to do for 13.
The partnership between Jenson Button and McLaren is very strong. I don't see him going anywhere. I don't think that Fernando Alonso is going to go anywhere either. He shrugged off all rumors about McLaren possibly signing him. He has no desire to go back there. I think he'll stay at Ferrari too.
Okay, well, very quickly, that covered the last question I had. You don't think Alonso leaves, huh?
I don't think so. Why would he? McLaren has really struggled. Sergio Perez and Jenson Button just haven't been able to perform this year. The car and the team as a whole haven't been able to perform. I just don't know why you would leave for any other team if you're an elite driver like Fernando Alonso, especially when you've got such a strong chance at both the Constructors and the Drivers' Championship next year, partnered alongside Kimi Räikkönen.
All right, there you have it. Joel Sebastianelli, IndyCar and Formula One correspondent for Race Chaser Online and Speed77 Radio. Joel, wish you well. Be good down there in Florida and keep up with the schoolwork.
Will do. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Oh, the wine and cheese always has so many stories to tell, doesn't it, Tom? You gotta love Joel's input on everything.
Yeah, the thing I love about Joel the most is if he's got something to say, he's already said it.
This is very, very true. We're going to get set up for another caution flag here on Motorsports Madness. And when we come back, we are going to sit down with Sprint Car Hot Shoe, #1 female sprint car driver in the nation, and USCS perennial top 10 in points contender Morgan Turpin out of the Terry Gray Racing stables as we preview Next week's USCS versus URC Carolina Speedway North-South Shootout. The Northern Invaders going to be coming down to challenge the USCS regulars, and we're going to have all the analysis and what Morgan thinks her chances are for the event when we come back. You're listening to Motorsports Madness on Speed77 Radio, powered by Race Chaser Online.
I knew some people would question it. I knew some people wouldn't approve. It's not just a number. It's a symbol for a great man who did great things. I don't want to erase that. I want to add to it. And I want to make my own name. I knew it wouldn't be easy, and that's why I wanted it.
Austin Dillon with a checkered flag.
This year, winning means more, and Kyle Busch would do anything to win. He'd steal a lead on a restart. He'd save an out-of-control race car. He'd get a neck tattoo of himself winning so he'll feel guilty if he loses. He'd even call another driver's house 30 times in a row the night before a race.
Who is this? Who's this?
If it would help him win, he'd do it. Because Kyle Busch would do anything to win.
For every turn, a twist. For every start, an untimely finish. For every win, someone who loses it. For every number, a nation. For every celebration, a brawl. For every split second, years of work. For every heaven, a hell. For every good old boy, a good old girl. For every curse, a prayer. For every ounce of order, a jug of chaos. For every twist, there's a turn.
You're listening to Speed77 Radio, your home for motorsports. Welcome back to Motorsports Madness here on Speed77 Radio, powered by Race Chaser Online. And as we get set for the weekend in motorsports, we also look ahead to next weekend in the world of motorsports and the USCS versus URC North-South Shootout that's going to be happening at Carolina Speedway in Gastonia, North Carolina on Friday night, and in Gaffney, South Carolina at Cherokee Speedway on Saturday night. And to help us preview the doubleheader next weekend, we've brought in USCS regular and perennial top 5 in points, Morgan Turpin, to chat with us here on the show tonight. Morgan, first off, good evening and congratulations on your season so far.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been tougher this year than it has in the past. It just hasn't been falling our way, but I appreciate y'all having me on.
I know you and your teammate and boss, Terry Gray, have both said the competition this year has been stiffer than it ever has been before. Talk a little bit about your season to date. I know there's been some low points, but there's also been some high points. You guys have really been on an upswing here the last couple weeks.
Yes, finally. It couldn't have came at a better time. We were both pretty frustrated, and I had school, so that was putting a lot on me, and it could not have come at a better time, but both of us won from the front row, and I don't think there's been a race this year where a front row car has not won. So it's just been all about the pulling the pill, and we seem to draw sticks every time. We finally have had it turn around for us the last couple of weeks, and we hope to carry it on into next weekend.
And we saw you, of course, a couple weeks ago over the Labor Day weekend tripleheader get the win at Cleveland, Tennessee. Big win, of course, for you, like you said, from the front row. Has there been anything this season that's been different as far as seasons past? I know you said the competition's been stiffer, but has there been anything that you guys as an organization have noticed has been different this season compared to seasons past?
Well, this year I didn't even have a ride at the beginning of the year. We threw a car together at the beginning of the season, about a week before the first race, and normally we're in there all winter long. And I had a job at Outback, and that's where I was working, and I wasn't even planning on racing this year, so we were kind of behind to begin with. And I don't think the competition's any tougher. I just don't think we were as prepared as we could have been. But as the season goes along, we've been running into certain people and been helping us out along, and it's a lot easier when you have new tires on, and instead of ones we pick up off the ground that people throw away. So it's been coming to us as the season goes on. It seems like this year it's been later on in the season, but it's working for us now.
That it certainly is. Morgan, looking forward now to next weekend's USCS doubleheader at Carolina and at Cherokee. What are the challenges of having the Northern URC Tour come down and race head-to-head with you guys?
Well, heck, they have 10 or 15 cars that can win every weekend. We have, maybe 4 or 5 that come to the races that could win the race. So it's going to be, 20 cars there that can win a race compared to our normal, where only 4 or 5 cars can win. So it's going to be, 20 cars trying to get that win, and every single one of them are going to be capable of. It's going to be tough, but they came down last year, and we ran really, really good against them. I think I blew up in the race running third, but Terry ran fourth. So it's going to be tough, but nothing too tough that we can't handle.
Tom, she's the #1 sprint car driver in the nation, and certainly she's got a lot of accolades under her belt already, rather. And I know you've talked with her over the past year as well. Anything you've got for Morgan tonight?
Well, I just want to toss in that I'm really proud of Morgan. She's done a terrific job. I remember Morgan from the go-karts, and that's been a few years, and she's really come a long way. Sprint cars are obviously among the beastiest of vehicles to manhandle, and Morgan definitely is as good as it gets in the sprint car division in terms of the USCS, and certainly can hold her own, and I'm looking forward to a great performance out of her once again at the Carolina Speedway. I just hope that Lady Luck treats you a little more kindly this time, Morgan.
Oh, I appreciate it. We actually just got the new engine off the dyno. It was crazy because I won my first race of the year with an engine that had 34 nights on it. So
wow.
It'll be crazy to, feel what a brand new engine feels like. I'm hoping we can do good, and I really appreciate that.
And I know, Morgan, as we get set to wrap the segment up here tonight, I know you can't do it alone. I know you've got a ton of supporters and a team behind you that helps you out. Talk a little bit about who makes it happen for Morgan Turpin.
Well, Terry Gray definitely makes it happen. I started watching him race when I was 5 years old, and I got into go-karts when I was 10. I would go over the local track here in town and scrape the mud off of his car, and then he's been my best friend since I can remember, and he made it happen for me. And Something Inked Motorsports, they're based out of Nashville. They do T-shirts and jerseys for NHL and NFL and all that kind of good stuff, and they really stepped up this year to help me out, and actually they're actually the main reason I got in a race car. So my mom told my little sister said the other day, she goes, "You always mention Mom, but you never mention me." So I have to mention my little sister Natalie. I'm fixing to help her with her homework now, but she pretty much keeps me going, and my family. So everybody makes it happen for me.
Last question before we cut you loose tonight. If we see you break through and win Friday night at Carolina or Saturday night at Cherokee, are we going to see you climb on top of the wing like you did at Cleveland?
Oh gosh, yes. It feels like every time emotional when I win. I sit here. I was watching the NASCAR race the other day, and whoever won, I just get teared up. I don't know, something about winning just brings out a different person in me, and it feels so great. I can't even express my feelings when I win. So I guess wing walking is about the only thing that expresses it for me.
Well, we certainly wish you the best of luck next weekend for the USCS versus URC North-South Shootout. Carolina Speedway and Cherokee Speedway, that's Gastonia, North Carolina, and Gaffney, South Carolina. Morgan Turpin of the USCS going to be there. Morgan, always a fan favorite, and we thank you for your time here tonight on Motorsports Madness and wish you the best of luck as we go into next weekend and the Border Wars.
Thank y'all for having me.
We're going to take a break here on Speed77 Radio and Race Chaser Online. When we come back, we'll throw the white flag on Motorsports Madness and wrap it up. Right after this, you're listening to Speed77 Radio, powered by Race Chaser Online. We are your home for motorsports.
Hi, this is Carl Edwards here for RAD, the entertainment industry's voice for road safety. You want to make a difference? It's simple. Be responsible. Plan ahead. Designate before you celebrate. Friends don't let friends drive drunk.
Baby, you can drive my car. Yes, I'm gonna be a
A
star.
public service message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
Hey guys, what's up?
Hey Dale, I got your text that said you couldn't text.
Wait, what?
Why would he text that he couldn't text?
I was driving.
Well, why not just not text instead of texting you can't text?
I didn't text.
It was just a text saying that he couldn't text. So who actually texted the text that he couldn't text? Dale.
The Sprint Drive First app blocks and replies to texts while you drive. We can live without the and.
Did you know that most teens who drink alcohol get it from people they know? Usually their friends or family members. But regardless of where they get it, alcohol puts teens at risk for injury, to themselves and to others. You can help make it a safe summer for the teens you know. Don't serve them alcohol. It's unsafe, it's illegal, and it's irresponsible. Find out more at don'tserveteens.gov. That's don'tserveteens.gov. A message from the Federal Trade Commission and this station.
You're listening to WSPD 77.1. This is Speed 77 Radio, your home for motorsports. Welcome back to Motorsports Madness here on Speed 77 Radio and Race Chaser Online. Jacob Seelman and Tom Baker here at the round table tonight as we get set to roll to conclusion here on the Madness this evening. But we've still got some time left, and believe it or not, I'm going to do something now twice in 2 weeks that I didn't think I was going to have the opportunity to do for a very long time just because of how protective he is over it. And I'm going to invade DJ's corner. Obviously, that is DJ Everett, and I am not. So I can only hope to do the corner justice here tonight, but I'm going to put my feet up here on DJ's recliner, turn the lava lamps on, and we're going to talk some regional sprint car and NASCAR home tracks action here tonight in the corner. Obviously at Loudon over the weekend, the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour was in action for the FW Web 100, and always when the Modifieds come to town, puts on a fantastic show. And it was a barn burner right to the end. Ryan Newman started on the pole, led a bunch of laps on the afternoon, nearly half of the event. When it came down to it, he was in the top three, as were Donnie Leah and Todd Zegedy. And how hungry was Todd Zegedy on the final lap, running second? He sent it into turn 3 and gave Donnie Leah the chrome horn. And Todd Zegedy slipped by to take his 18th career Wheel and Modified Tour win. But first, in a couple of years, very emotional in victory lane was Todd Zegedy. Ryan Newman slipped by Donnie Leah to take second, and Leah rounded out the podium. Tom, it seems like every time the Modifieds come to Loudon, it's just a recipe for a fantastic finish, and we saw that this weekend. Todd Zegedy schooled them, and the old bump and run came back into play.
Gotta love that in a modified, don't you? And Zegedy is as good at it as anybody. That is just, those guys just put on a great show all the time. And Zegedy is as good as it gets. I love those races. It's always one of the best races, if not the best race of the year for the modifieds and always the best race of that weekend. Just a great time and a great win for Todd Szegedy. That's really cool.
That it was, and the Canadian Tire Series rounded out their season. And how about a home stretch run? Scott Steckley in the final event of the season. There's no better way than to know you have to win the race, to win the title. And Todd Szegedy Scott Steckley. I'm reverting back to modified moments here. Geez, what am I talking about? Huh? This is why I hired DJ to run the corner for me. But Scott Steckley, needed to come in, win the race, lead the most laps to win the championship, and boy, does he ever. Starts on pole, dominates the final Canadian Tire event of the season, goes to victory lane, becomes the first ever 3-time champion of the Canadian Tire Series at Kawartha Speedway, rounding out the Canadian Tire season. Scott Steckley wins, gets max points. Pete Shepard finishes second. Jeff Lapovich finishes third. DJ Kennington fourth, and just misses out on the title by 2 points to Steckley. You can't get much closer than that. And Martin Roy rounding out the top 5. The other championship contender, Jason Hathaway, led some laps but had a tough night. Came home 11th, but Scott Steckley, 15th career win, and it was one that counted most as it gave him his 3rd Canadian Tire Championship. The K&N East Series was also in action last weekend at Loudon, New Hampshire, and if you want another example of young talent, Tom, how about this? Cole Custer, son of Stuart Haas executive Joe Custer, 15 years old, driving for Ken Schrader. He won earlier this season at Iowa Speedway in the K&N East. He starts on pole at Loudon and runs away to another victory. Second time at a National Series track this season. Cole Custer wins his 2nd career E-Series race after winning his 2nd career E-Series pole and dominates. Dylan Kwasniewski, though, had a tough go of it. He crashed out. His points lead has now been cut to 23 markers over Brett Moffitt going into this weekend's Drive Sober 150 at Dover International Speedway. Boy, Tom, we've heard a lot from Dylan Kwasniewski this season. 5 wins in the K&N East Series, and he's got to be the championship favorite. But you go into Dover, a place that has been traditionally Brett Moffitt's house. What does Dylan Kwasniewski have to do this weekend to keep his championship aspirations alive going to the finale at Road Atlanta?
Win. That's basically... From here on out, Dylan Kwasniewski has to win. That's that's always the goal anyway. And now he really has to make sure, if at all possible, that he just wins out. And Dylan's a tremendous competitor, as is Brett Moffitt. And I think that it's going to be a lot of fun to see how this turns out. But I think Kwasniewski, as long as he wins, or at least finishes a good bit, he's got to stay in front of all challengers at this point, and obviously particularly, and I think he has the capability to do it. What a race for Cole Custer, though, and how lucky do you have to be if you appreciate true racers at all? How about Cole Custer driving for Schrader? I mean, it just doesn't get any better than that for a mentor, and probably not any more fun either.
Oh no, that it doesn't get any more fun than Schrader. I will tell you that right now. And for those of you who may be interested, wow, we've got a chance to hit this live on DJ's Corner. Why not? K&N East practice went on earlier today at Dover International Speedway for the Drive Sober 150. And Tom, I'll give you one guess. Who was fastest yet again?
I'll defer to you on that, Jacob. Go ahead and tell us who was fastest yet again, because I know you're just dying to say this.
Oh, defer as you will. Cole Custer, again, looking for his third national track win of the season, third career K&N East win, and he was fastest in final practice, had the fastest overall lap of anybody at Dover this weekend. He's looking to tame Miles and take the win for the third time this year. He may not be in contention for the championship, but he's leaving his mark. Looks like he's going to be in upwards of 10 truck races next year with the help of Joe Shear and Ken Schrader. Nice to see Joe Shear, after getting out at Thorsport, helping shepherd some young talent forward in the sport. But Cole Custer fastest in preparation for tomorrow's K&N East event at Dover. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, let me tell you, it's going to get wild at Dover International Speedway tomorrow. That's K&N East action, then Saturday's the Nationwide Series, and Sunday the Cup Series, so certainly a lot to talk about there. But of course, we're not done yet here on DJ's Corner. It wouldn't be DJ's Corner if we didn't talk about some sprint car action. Well, there was supposed to be sprint car action going on this weekend for the World of Outlaws STP sprint cars. However, Mother Nature had other ideas. Both the Four Crown Nationals at Eldora Speedway for the World of Outlaws and the National Open at Lernerville Speedway both rained out over the past weekend. The Four Crown portion at Eldora will not be rescheduled for the Outlaws, but Lernerville Series officials are looking to reschedule a date for the National Open before the end of the year. Also big in Outlaws news this week was that they will be back at Devil's Bowl Speedway, the track where it all began, site of the very first World of Outlaws sprint car event in 2014. The Outlaws going to Fremont Speedway this weekend with just 6 races to go. Darren Pittman has a solid 70-point lead over Donnie Schatz, but even with 6 races to go, you can never be too safe. I would not be surprised to see Darren Pittman and Donnie Schatz battle it out all the way down to the World Finals at Charlotte. Pittman, of course, currently your championship leader going into this weekend. I know DJ would certainly have a lot more for the corner, and I'm certain we can get some more from him on Tuesday night if we can get him back with us. But for right now, oh boy, Tom, as we get set for the upcoming weekend in motorsports, we've got the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, a Nationwide Series at Dover. We've got the Truck Series in Sin City, out in Las Vegas. It's kind of nice to hear the Truck Series back in action. We haven't talked a lot about them here too recently, but Matt Crafton's still motoring along in the chase for the Trucks Championship, but James Busher's starting to close in a little bit there. Boy, Tom, Sin City always a place where dreams can be made or broken. Last year it was Nelson Piquet who took a surprise win in that event. Going forward to this weekend, who have you got your eye on for the Trucks in Vegas?
Well, we all know that what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, right? I mean, you know that policy. You know what? I think it's a wide open. I wouldn't be surprised though as we get down to the last few races here. I wouldn't be surprised to see Ty Dillon start getting hot. Austin was always like that, and Ty like that as well. And the end of the year when everything's on the line, they seem to step the game up a little bit. Wouldn't be surprised to see him get hot. But I really, really think that Matt Crafton is going to be the driver that you're going to have to go through to get the win. I think Matt smells blood in the water, knows that he's got an opportunity here, and I really believe that he's going to be very, very tough to beat out in Vegas this weekend.
Let's wrap up some business before we bid you good night here on Motorsports Madness. The NHRA Drag Racing Series was in action over the weekend as well. The Fall Nationals at Texas Motorplex. And how about a feel-good story out of the straightliner world? Doug Kalitta, NHRA veteran who has gone a long time without being able to hoist a wall, 71 races, took a top fuel victory Sunday afternoon at the Fall Nationals. First victory since 2010, and moves into a tie for the Mellow Yellow Drag Racing Series points lead with Sean Langdon. It doesn't get much better than that. Win and take over the championship lead. I'll take those odds any day of the week. Cruz Pedregon victorious in Funny Car. Jason Lyons scoring a big win in Pro Stock, and in Pro Stock Motorcycle, Eddie Krawick on the Harley-Davidson finally going to victory lane this season after Andrew Hines, his teammate, missed the countdown but was able to go to victory lane the following week at the Carolina Nationals down here in Charlotte. Feel-good stories all around, Tom, and I know DJ would love to be able to chime in on this one as well, but Doug Kalitta, you gotta feel good for him. A veteran of drag racing. He's been at it for a couple of decades now, but when you when any driver goes through a drought like Kalitta did, 3 years worth, it's got to be pretty sweet to wrap it up with a victory and move into a tie for the championship that's eluded you as well.
Yeah, that's 3 years is a long time in drag racing, and for somebody who's been racing as long as Doug Kalitta has, you just always wonder as a fan, at what point does the driver start to think, well, I wonder if this is ever going to happen again for me, and boy, it certainly has, and he's got a good shot at the title, and Doug is just an icon of that sport, if you ask me, and it just couldn't happen to a nicer person to be able to have some good success here, and it really is a feel-good story for sure.
That it is. Final bits of business before we go off the air tonight. Sports car world. This weekend, one more race going to be going on, and it will be a memorable one because it will be the Grand Am season and series finale from Lime Rock Park. Max Angelelli and Jordan Taylor going into it with an 8-point lead over Scott Pruitt and Memo Rojas. Pruitt and Rojas, in order to claim the title, will have to win and hope that Angelelli and Taylor finish 5th or worse in order to claim Pruitt's 6th Rolex Sports Car Series title, if my count is correct. Scott's won so many of them now over the past couple of years that they all start to run together after a while, but Pruitt, a legend in sports car racing, versus Angelelli, certainly one of the more memorable characters in sports cars. It's the final weekend for Grand Am before we transition into the new era of sports car racing, the United Sports Car Championship, who released their schedule, and we'll get to that in a moment to wrap up the show. But Tom, it's the final weekend for Grand Am. Pruitt versus Angelelli. Who comes out on top and why?
Scott Pruitt, I think, comes out on top, and I think it's just more of a gut feeling I have. I think Scott just as overall has had a little bit more of a consistent season. I think Pruitt comes out on top in this, and I have to be honest with you, I was a little surprised at the whole Juan Pablo Montoya situation, the way that turned out, because I had a sneaking suspicion that just maybe Juan Pablo might end up in a sports car for Ganassi, because that's a world he really hasn't tamed yet, per se, but a little hard to turn down an Indy ride with Penske Racing. So, it's interesting, but I think Scott Pruitt comes out on top.
Interesting call. I'm going to sway the other way and go with Max Angelelli just on the basis of consistency. I don't think there's been but one race all season where Angelelli has finished 5th or worse, so Max Angelelli, Jordan Taylor looking to be in prime position to collect the hardware this year. And then transitioning to next year, the 2014 season for sports car racing in North America, the United Sports Car Championship released their 2014 schedule. 12 rounds, just like the Rolex Series and American Le Mans Series, were this year, consisting of some of the greatest races in North America. The Rolex 24 at Daytona going to kick off the schedule, the 12 Hours of Sebring, the Long Beach Grand Prix, a race at Mazda Raceway in Laguna Seca, the sports cars returning to Belle Isle in Detroit as part of the Izod IndyCar weekend up there, the 6 Hours of the Glen, always a fan favorite where anything can happen. Going north of the border to Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, the Brickyard Grand Prix at Indianapolis, a visit to Road America, a visit to Virginia International Raceway VIR, the new Circuit of the Americas on September 20th, and rounding out the schedule with the Petit Le Mans. As we close tonight, Tom, It doesn't get any better than that for sports car racing in America. That's for the biggest races, the 24 at Daytona, the 12 in Sebring, the 6 Hours of the Glen, and the Petit Le Mans. This is what sports car racing should be, and it's going to be fun to watch next year.
And it's only going to get bigger. I mean, it's one of the, I think it's one of the few series where the viewership in terms of television is actually growing. And, you know, people are really starting to discover it and dig it. It's great racing and just some extremely talented drivers and some of the best of the world, I think. And, you know, very enjoyable to watch. So, yeah, you're right. This is definitely a big weekend for those who like the lefty-righty stuff and hope that Mother Nature cooperates with all of it so everybody can enjoy it.
We do hope that Mother Nature cooperates. I hope that Mother Nature cooperates because I'm going to be race chasing for Speed77 and Race Chaser Online. I'll be at Concord Speedway this weekend for some short track action, and that's going to be where you'll find me. So for this edition of Motorsports Madness on Speed77 Radio, powered by Race Chaser Online, I'm Jacob Seelman. He's Tom Baker, and that's a wrap for this week in the world of motorsports. We'll see you on Tuesday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific. It's going to be an incredible hour. We've got more on sprint car action. We're going to have special guest Dylan Kwasniewski on the show with us live, and we're for sure going to have a lot to talk about from NASCAR, the open wheel worlds, and more. So until then, this is Jacob Seelman for Speed77 Radio and Race Chaser Online, reminding all of you out there to keep it off the wall until we meet again. We'll see you at the track, folks. So long! You're listening to Speed77 Radio and Race Chaser Online. We'll be back on the air live with you on Tuesday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern for Motorsports Madness, your weekend wrap-up from around the world of motorsports. I'm Jacob Seelman saying thank you for listening tonight, and we'll see you next time.